Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our international webinar on Africa, co-organized by Brunel Business School and Co-Innovate Journey, Brunel University, London. In this webinar, we will discuss about opportunities and challenges of doing business in Africa. The recent COVID-19 inflated the problems associated with various businesses in Africa. However, several businesses, policymakers, and academic society are working together to overcome the existing and new challenges and contributing towards the development of the economy. In this webinar, we will learn from policymakers, small and big businesses, researchers, and NGOs about their contribution, and we will discuss how to assist graduates to prepare themselves for future opportunities in international trade. Now, without further ado, I would like to introduce Professor Trevor Hoy, our Vice Provost, International and Academic Partnership, and Professor of River Science at Brunel University, London. Professor Trevor will introduce you to Brunel's international strategy. Over to you, Trevor.
Thank you very much, Monamita. Thank you, and welcome to everybody this afternoon, and really good to see this event being put on. I think for a lot of people outside universities, when they think about universities' international strategy, the assumption is that that is a strategy about student recruitment, and that it doesn't go much further than that. Actually, our international strategy is much broader than student recruitment. That's one element, but actually creating opportunities for our staff and students to exchange, creating opportunities for research, creating opportunities for engaging with businesses, with government agencies, with NGOs, is all part of our international strategy. And what we're doing at Brunel at the moment is trying to join those different elements together, perhaps more explicitly and more clearly than we have in the past. We've tended to have different partners for different purposes, and that's led to a slightly scattered approach to international activity. And what we're looking to do now is to be much more coherent, to make sure that people in different parts of the university with responsibilities for international work are talking to each other. For example, we've set up a series of regional working groups, one of which is looking at our work in Africa. What we want to do is to connect things, but also to promote our activities across campus. And this sort of event is absolutely perfect for that. It's hopefully getting a wide range of people to come and hear about some opportunities, but also to connect with other people within and outside the university. How do we try to do that? We try, when we work internationally, very much to work in a partnership model. Again, it's not necessarily only with other universities, partnership with businesses, partnership with NGOs, partnership with funders, partnership with universities where appropriate, maybe with, in some cases, with high schools as well. We're trying to have partnerships that are very much two-way, where Brunel obviously has some things to offer to the partnership, or we wouldn't be involved. We maybe have expertise, we maybe have facilities, we have educational opportunities, but the partner has much to offer us in terms of research opportunities, issues that they would like to collaborate on. They have expertise and knowledge that we can use, and hopefully we have expertise and knowledge that the partners can use, and that we work together very much in a partnership of equals. And that's the approach that we take and we want to take. We are very committed to the impact of our research, and impact can be measured in lots of different ways. It can be measured obviously through economic impact. One of the ways we're especially keen on promoting, and we're very pleased that we do well with, is impact in terms of helping to deliver the Sustainable Development Goals. And Brunel ranks within the top 100 globally on an indicator of SDG implementation. We would like to retain that ranking, and we see the SDGs as providing a little bit of a framework for some of our activities. That we are as a university, as a public body, primarily seeking to try in a a small way to make the world a better place. And actually, by focusing on education, by focusing on the SDGs, by focusing on research that supports those, and collaborations with business and, as I say, NGOs, governments that support those activities, we can hopefully contribute to meeting those goals. And within our university community, we're very committed as well to trying to create opportunities for everybody. We want opportunities for our staff and students to engage internationally, and we want to make those as open and as easy to access as possible for all of our members of our university community. And in order to do that, we need to be better informed about what the opportunities are. And that's why events like this afternoon are so good, because I'm sure we're all going to learn a lot about opportunities and challenges in working in this space. So without taking up any more time, I shall leave it there. I look forward to hearing the discussions in the next hour and a half or so, and back to you, Monomita.
Thank you, Trevor. Thank you. Now, I would now like to introduce you to Professor Simon Taylor, Vice Dean International in our Computer Science Department. Professor Simon will be your moderator for the rest of the event. Over to you, Simon.
Oh, good afternoon, everybody, and it's nice to see so many people have been able to join us. But let's move to our first speaker. So let me introduce Nick Brown. Nick Brown is the chairman of Welwyn-Hatfield Chamber of Commerce and the Army Benevolent Fund for Hertfordshire. So Nick, over to you.
I thought today I sort of introduce myself very quickly. Prior to running the local Chamber of Commerce, I used to run an advertising agency for the Army and Avis and Gatwick and people like that. And spent some time at London Business School with Gary Hamill, really looking at the whole change management stuff and international engagement and those kind of thoughts, and really kind of concluded that all the things we know about branding and kind of well-being and a range of different things come down to innovation. And I sit on the Hertfordshire LEP Innovation Board trying to help there. So, you know, people talk about a lot about resilience and innovation and all sorts of things. Why does it matter? I think that the path to well-being personally is very important, and that's about trying things out so you can help other people. And if you can do that, then you start to have sustainable prosperity. It is about working together with each other right the way across the world, and not being in a situation where people are excluded and exploited. And I spent some time talking to Grant Shapps about this when he was Minister for Overseas Development, and just looking at where we were in Africa. There's an enormous opportunity in Africa. I only found out a little while ago that you can fit the whole of the United States into the Sahara Desert. You know, Africa is quite big, just because you see it on a map on one page, the same as the States. Africa is enormous, okay? And I think that, particularly looking at a post-Brexit Britain and looking at emerging Africa, innovation is the key to this, because it's the key to building sustainable growth. Because if we don't come up with new ideas and new things, the market moves on. And we're going to have a look at how you scale businesses. I think the UK has been very good at smaller businesses, innovative businesses. It's been very good at very large businesses, although some of those are under pressure at the moment. But in particular, the UK has a very effective large SME market in a way that the French and the Germans tend not to. And it's the ability to scale these businesses and drive innovation from there that I believe is where the future lies, okay? So as with all models, they're models. There's quite a lot of thinking goes behind this, and right at the end there's a series of little videos that we've recorded through the chamber, which are completely for free, so when we get to the end, have a look and see. But I think I'm going to take you through incremental innovation into existing markets and into new markets, step change innovation into existing markets and into new markets, and this is how I think that one goes about scaling a business. So the core to innovation is really about listening to your customers. Gary Hamill, Professor of Strategy at Harvard, talks a lot about successful organisations of the future will align the values of their staff and their customers and their brand. He says those organisations that are not doing that will not exist very soon. They just don't know it yet. Okay. So this business about understanding your changing customer needs is key, because otherwise your innovation simply won't be relevant. Empowering customer-facing staff in an ever faster changing world, and particularly with younger people developing their own thoughts, etc., then it's quite important that they are part of that interface. Otherwise, the emerging customers won't relate to your brand. This business of engaging with people is about building this empathy and trust with the customer. And the role of the senior management increasingly is to provide thought leadership, which says we're here today, we want to be there tomorrow, but empowering people to get there so that there is in-depth interface between the business and the customers and the staff in particular. So if through your thought leadership, you can be a guardian of customers' future needs, then they will trust you with their status, their well-being and all sorts of things. And as a result of that, you'll make higher margins, which is the difference between success and failure in business, because people with high margins buy companies with low margins. So having done all you can to build trust with your existing customers in your existing markets, the question is, how do you start to move into new markets? This is always a difficult step. The bigger your brand is, the easier it is to do it. One of the nice things about expanding into new markets is that you can treat potential new customers as if they were existing customers and use that as a research tool. That way you're building trust and expectation before the launch. And this whole thing around, those of you that are familiar with early and late majorities, crossing the gap, the difference between success and failure is, typically getting 34% of the market. Again, there's a video that explains that, which you can pick up at the back. And obviously, if you're delivering thought leadership, then you need to make sure that whatever it is that you're delivering exceeds on your promises, so people say how wonderful you are, as opposed to saying that you're rubbish. So the objectives being to maximise your comms program, give staff and customers the tools to start on the brand journey and create people that are going to say nice things about you. Okay, so this is about thinking about how you move on your existing products into new markets. Step change innovation is when whatever it is that you're doing is starting to sort of run out of steam. And it's really important in a business to monitor on a product group by product group your gross profit over time, because you'll see typically it will go up over time as you go through the early adopter curve, then it would tend to tail off. And if as a business looking for sustainability and the ability to scale, it may well be that the existing products that you have in today's markets are yesterday's story, but they can be tomorrow's products in new markets, and one needs to monitor that and see how it's going, so you're getting value out of it. Monitoring your gross profit is absolutely key to this, and be ready with the step change where the next one's coming from. So, the obvious old one is Apple moving from PCs into phones. Lots of other people tried it and failed. More recently, Rolls-Royce have just announced, obviously with the issue with their jet turbines, that they're going into nuclear power. Why? Well, nuclear physics is my kind of original background, and half the cost of a power station is the jet turbine. So, Rolls-Royce have that expertise. The French are holding us to ransom over our power. That they're looking at developing smaller power stations on a sort of county-wide basis and doing these things. So objectives in step change, survival in a changing world, demonstration thought leadership, demonstrating integrity and a guardian of future aspirations. As I say, we're going through a lot of ideas here quite quickly, but I think it's worth just having a think about them. So into new markets, which kind of brings us into Africa. I had a long conversation with, well, several conversations with Tim Bell, who was Mrs. Thatcher's right-hand man, used to run Saatchi's, about how we can build world stability. And one of the things that we have in the UK is 5 of the world's top 10 universities, and obviously Brunel doing all of its international stuff as well, which is absolutely great. If we can do knowledge transfer into firms that are overseas in such a way that we build a partnership and transfer things across so we can work with them to help build overseas markets, that will be very powerful And in terms of Trevor Hoey's view on what the university is about, being a force for good, I think that would be a very powerful thing to do. So we can work together with local firms. We can access existing brand values, trust and local knowledge. If you've come as an outsider, forget it. You can treat new markets as existing markets, as we've discussed. Provide expertise as part of that knowledge transfer, obtain market research, and manage your risk management. So I'll jump one too far there. So that's it in a nutshell. It would be great to have a longer time to talk about how that might work. As I say, thank you for your time and attention. I think these are really important points. And on that link under the chamber there, you can just sign up and it will send you a 5-minute video every day for the next week talking about the underlying marketing thoughts behind this that we have used to build international brands around the world over the last 20 years. So I hope that is of use, and thank you very much for your time.
Thanks, Nick. Spot on, by the way. So, okay, so just to keep things moving, we now have 5 or so speakers ahead of us. Each speaker's been given a question, so I'm going to introduce the speaker and their question, and then each speaker has 7 minutes or so. So Nick, thank you so much for getting us going. So our next speaker is Joe Demby. Joe is an advisor on economic and financial policy to the President of the Republic of Sierra Leone. And we've asked Joe one question, as we've done with all the panelists, which is how the government is encouraging international trade relations during the pandemic, and what is the plan for the post-COVID era? So Joe, 7 minutes, and I've got my timer starting now.
Oh dear Lord. Okay, hello everybody. Oh, I'm now in the hot seat. Okay, actually it is the economic advisor, not a, so just thought I'd make that clear.
Oh, beg your pardon.
I only have 7 minutes, so international trade relations. Okay, by the way, thanks to Nick just now, and he reminded me of where we are positioned, because that end of things is very much a first world problem. We are in what is no longer called the third world. And I think that sets the secret, but the common thread is innovation. So what I'm going to do is paint a very, very quick picture of what we're trying to do, because encouraging international trade relations is all well and dandy, but we have to take everything in the round. The trade relations, the industrial activity, and the investments required. Conversation I had with the president only last week, he always reminds me that you know, when we talk about trade and international trade and Pan-African trade agreements and things like that, we basically say we don't have anything to trade. Now, obviously, that's not entirely true, because, you know, we sell cocoa, we sell diamonds, we sell all sorts of interesting things. But the common feature of all of these things is that there is no value added. And that really is the crux of our problem. So we don't have a problem engaging in international trade or engaging in, you know, attracting it, because people are all over us because they can get cheap stuff. Our target is to find a way to actually add value to the stuff we're shipping out. And how do we do that? And this is when I fell down the rabbit hole. Now, I'm not going to go through all the details, but basically we did a Houseman growth diagnostic to try and understand why our economy was so rotten when it had such tremendous potential. And put quite simply, we had an infrastructure decline over the last 40 years, and we put ourselves in a position where we have no transport and logistic capability, no rational distribution channels, and not enough power, you name it, we don't have it. In addition to that, we've had policy failures in the sense that whether or not we write a law, regulation, or what have you that looks like it might succeed, pressures and, you know, the sort of thing that goes on in this part of the world with government operatives and agents actually kind of subverting the system means that it kind of doesn't matter what we say. What we have is an organically grown economy in inverted commas, which doesn't really work, but it does sustain itself. So that's by way of background. So what I'm going to say is what we're doing, so that I can, you know, I only have 7 minutes, so I have to push forward. What are we doing? We're rolling out massive infrastructure. This may not sound directly trade related. There is a point to this. We're rolling out a lot of infrastructure. The infrastructure is entirely designed to lower the cost of business, lower the barriers to entry, the classic strategic moves that you make. We need to support businesses at all levels. So that's SMEs all the way up to large industries, which we don't have many of. We need to encourage them. We need to encourage investment. We need to make it doable, which means and then really the core of what we're trying to do is enhancing value chains and supply chains and global market linkages. So we've got the infrastructure, we're looking at skills and know-how. We have our now famous free quality education, and we've realized that, yes, we need a little more than that. And this is where, courtesy of, I think it was Trevor was talking earlier, about university engagement skills. Yeah, we want your interns, ship them over. We have places for them, because a lot of what we're trying to do, we don't broadly have the skill sets available to us. So quite a lot of the time, we're scratching around trying to find people who can do the things we need. And what are the sorts of things we need to do? We need to train people here. We need to show people skills by example. We need facilitation and help with the pro-growth policies that we're trying to develop. We need accountants. We need good legal people, etc., etc. So trying to spiral back to where we are in relation to international trade relations, what we believe is that if we can get our on-the-ground activities right, currently, so over the past 2 decades, industry, and manufacturing in particular, have only contributed 1.5% to the GDP of the country. At the moment, what we do is grow stuff badly, and the stuff we grow, we don't export, we have to eat it, and then we have to import more of it. So what we need to do is get the industrial base up and the processing base up. We import onions, for goodness sake. We import cashews. Yeah, it's ridiculous. We import mango juice, which is shameful. So for us, the key to international trade relations is establishing a base, establishing an ecosystem, and both in terms of international business, but also in terms of international finance, because again, everything is lacking. Our private sector, we're looking for economic diversification. There's a whole range of products we don't produce and we could, like onions, eggs, very simple things, tomatoes, which I'm personally engaged in. We want decentralization. Most of the investment attention is paid to the Western area, which comprises 7% of the country's total primary economic output. So again, as government policy, we're looking to just encourage people to move up country. And the last Finance Act, we put in a number of tariff and tax measures to attract people to that. So a little bit like trying to develop Wales or something like that. And then we do have investment facilitation and trade facilitation entities. And again, we need to boost them. But the core of our problem is really that we don't do anything. We don't make anything, we don't produce anything, which means we're not exporting value-added items, which means we're not doing ourselves any good. A further problem we have as well, which is disinhibiting, if you will, inhibiting our ability to trade internationally, is our borders are quite porous. So again, we're doing work on economic border security, maritime surveillance, etc., etc. And then I haven't mentioned COVID, and it must be freaky that I've gone for a few minutes without mentioning the COVID-19. We've been very, very lucky here. I have a friend, we've done some antibody tests which indicate that we're 70% exposed. It's a small sample, so it's not. So basically, COVID seems to hit us and we don't notice, which, we've been extremely fortunate. I don't know if that blip is, I have to stop in a second. But what I would say is, I just wanted to emphasize, we're not really experiencing the difference between COVID and post-COVID at the moment, or even during COVID, because, it's been a bit of a rest, because quite a lot of the time we're plagued by international investors and traders who nobody wants to have come to their country because they're basically carpetbaggers. So it's given us a respite from that. Post-COVID, now, I'll say this in relation to Britain, America, and everywhere else, the world has changed. It's an opportunity for countries such as this one, because one, it kind of wakes us up to, first of all, we had to become more self-reliant. So our manufacturing has actually blipped up. because we couldn't get everything, we couldn't import everything that we usually import. So we started making stuff. So certainly the hand sanitizer industry has boomed here, soap has boomed, things like that. Going forward, we see opportunities for trade realignments, particularly if we can get the investment into the country that allows us to actually add value to what we're shipping out. And but we also see opportunities with Brexit as well. So all of you Brits who struggling to sell, especially the small companies, I would encourage small UK SMEs to get in down here, come out for a visit, see what's going on, because small SMEs are really our sweet spot. We're talking to the Italians, so it's not just you guys. So you need to get in on the act. We want those small mom and pop factories. We want those little tomato canning things, fruit canning things, all that kind of stuff. Investments in the $25,000 to $100,000 range are paramount here. So, and then what I would say is, if you're worried about coming, the CDC has officially, this is the Center for Disease Control, has officially stated that Sierra Leone is one of 4 countries in Africa with low COVID risk. So anybody who's thinking of getting a bit of sun, you want to get out here, this is the place to come. The opportunities are endless. We literally need everything. So I don't know if my 7 minutes is up. I hope it is. Did I get the timing right?
Yes, it's just over, Joe.
Just over. Okay, apologies. Okay, that's me done for now. But thank you very much. Thanks for the opportunity to speak.
And thank you, Joe. So some clear opportunities there, and it's nice to know there's somewhere in the world that is low COVID risk. That's great news, and is indeed everything else. So moving on to our next speaker, I want to introduce Lena Rosinia. I hope I pronounced your name correctly. She is the CEO of De Graft Management, and again we've posed a question, and the question that we've asked Lena is to mention one main challenge related to trading in Africa before COVID, and if there is any change in the situation. So again, 7 minutes, and I'll hand over to you now.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. So my name is Lena Rosinia. Good effort. And I am founder and CEO of De Graft Management, or DGM for short. So I'm a London-born Sierra Leonean, and I've spent over 20 years developing tech in the UK and Africa. But I'm also really passionate about land and property management, and have spent 15 years of my career in the industry, in real estate and property and asset management. So this year, according to the Ministry of Lands and Physical Planning, Kenya will lose £210 million due to property conflicts, untracked land and property, and lost taxes. This is a problem that is replicated across the African continent. DGM are property and asset management software specialists, and our ideal clients are banks, property and insurance companies, and government organizations in Ghana and Kenya who do not use software to manage their land, buildings and physical assets, and associated services like solid waste management. So our award-winning technology automates our clients' core business processes, improving efficiencies, reducing fraud, increasing transparency. And our detailed case studies show on average a 55% return on investment via cost and time savings for our clients. So thank you for the invite, Monomita. We've been working with students at Brunel now for the past 2 years. It's been an incredible experience, both the academics and the students developing tech. And as a Black female tech founder, I really want to inspire others, particularly young women like my 2 nieces who are actually starting out in careers in STEM and innovation. So as we at DGM are Africans developing tech for Africa, we aim to create role models and to employ and empower young people specifically to continue to make positive contributions within their communities. So to answer your question, so DGM is a UK registered company, and we have an office and local partners in Accra in Ghana and in Nairobi in Kenya. We also work in Sierra Leone and Nigeria, so my experience relates to our business primarily in these African countries. So I would say our biggest challenge, entering new markets in Africa, pre-COVID-19. So Ghana, when we first entered in 2016, and more recently in Kenya, has been finding and building the right local partners and networks to support our growth. I believe firmly that you cannot develop tech for the African market long distance from the UK. I'm actually in London. My head of ops is in Ghana. My finance directors in Nairobi, our local partners are in Nairobi and Accra. Each country has its own unique supply chain, market and consumer trends, and competitive landscape. To succeed, you have to develop a solid local presence. So what do I mean by a solid local presence? Building trust, building business relationships, and building local networks are critical in supporting successful business growth on the continent. So we have had to build a solid network made up of local partners, resellers, business support agencies, mentors, industry colleagues, and advisors. And our network continues to grow. So some example of really key stakeholders in our network include our tech partner in Ghana, the Soft Tribe, one of the continent's most prominent tech companies who provide key introductions, support, and market insight. Horizons Group, who span Ghana, Nigeria, and Kenya, provide flexible office and admin support and facilities for meetings, presentations, and training. We have legal support from DLA Piper Africa, who provide commercial, legal, and regulatory advice across the continent. And also, we've had key support from the UK. So for example, the Department of International Trade here and in country, in Ghana and Kenya, the British Chamber of Commerce, the Kenyan Deputy High Commission, who provide advice and support and a fantastic venue for our very high profile launch last year in Nairobi. So you have to be present in country to nurture and grow your network. Business for me is all about building relationships. I mean, I love to talk, and we all know that by building relationships, people by people. So there's no way we could develop tech in Ghana and Kenya without really getting to know our clients, their specific pain points, their key challenges, their detailed requirements. Tech in Africa, I really believe this has to be user-centered. It's not about trying to force a product market fit. It has to be fit for purpose. So how have things changed during and hopefully post-COVID-19? So from a business viewpoint, as we develop cloud technology, COVID has simply hastened our clients' journey from manual paper spreadsheets to the cloud. And we now support them with technology as they work remotely from home. I mean, interestingly, we've just been given some Innovate UK funding to develop cloud technology specifically to address COVID-19. And with regards to building our network of relationships, our local partners continue to support our growth as our clients gradually return to their offices. So having a strong local presence has become a key part of our USP. We have a local team, we have local knowledge, and we have local history. And we still continue to get in front of clients. I mean, I'm sitting here in South London, but we continue to have regular online and in-country meetings, presentations, and we use, I'm sure like everyone else here, the standard project management and collaborative and storage tools like Zoom, Teams, Google, Slack, Jira, Trello, and Office 365. So the key words now for us at DGM as we navigate our way through COVID is about adaptability and resilience. So we've been forced to become more creative and inventive in the way we communicate with our network and our clients. So as we continue to maintain these relationships, we regularly network and communicate both remotely and digitally, and we use quite a lot of user surveys, thought leadership, which has been mentioned, webinars, podcasts, YouTube presentation and instruction videos, online networking, and panel events such as this really value-packed Brunel University event. It's how we do things now. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much for that excellent presentation, Lena. So we now move on to the next speaker. I'd like to introduce Kofi Anku. So Kofi is the Executive Director of Volta Ghana Investment Company Limited and Board of Directors of the Ghana Wildlife Society. So forgive me for not getting up so quickly. So the question is, do you advise young graduates and mature investors to start investing now in suitable financial assets? As an investor, which three main factors should any investor consider when investing in an African market?
Well, I think it's a fascinating question. I would say, and kind of to piggyback on some of Joe's comments and Lena's comments, is that you need to be present. So particularly for young investors, the opportunities that present themselves in Ghana are often entrepreneurial. And these are things that you just can't be taught in school. You actually need to be present in the country to see where you can add value. Yes, there are financial products that you can buy. This is actually my business, even though our company is called Volt Investment Company, most of our assets are actually in real estate. So over the past 15 years, I've been full-time based in Ghana. And most notably, we're just wrapping up a 200-unit townhouse development that we partnered with a US company. So the key really when spotting opportunities in Ghana, and I think it's probably true in other parts of the world as well, is you really need to get granular and see specifically what your skill sets, access networks, how you can leverage those to benefit your entrepreneurial journey in Ghana. And I want to highlight a few. I recently met a young woman who returned from Canada. Her name is Viola Lavi, and she's setting up an absolutely extraordinary basket export business. So Ghana has been in the process, has produced some world-class baskets in the northern region, particularly in Bolgatanga. And what Viola has been able to do is, given her experience in luxury brands in Toronto and also in Ghana, was to reimagine this basket and design it for an international global luxury market. And she's set up to make a killing. And this is not the kind of thing that you could have simply made a financial investment, wait 7 years, and come back for your returns, but you need to be actively involved in meeting a standard that would get you the highest premium in the global market. I'll give you another example. So we're in the process of I'll announce this. We haven't gone public with it yet, but probably by the end of this year, we're going to be introducing an affordable housing product. And what's interesting about that is that not only are we looking to bring the cost of home ownership down in Ghana, but we're also looking at introducing a whole suite of innovations in the housing value chain that are going to have a direct impact on environment and climate change. So what that will look like is insulation for the homes. We're also implementing a solar power setup for each unit, community scale water. So typically, when you're looking at affordable housing, people often look at green building as a nice to have. But what we've been able to find is that you can actually use these approaches to add value not only for the homeowners, but if you're smart about it, you can actually, as a developer, use some of these approaches to increase your bottom line. So I think I'll leave it at that. I'm looking forward to questions as well. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Okay, so let's. Well, it's good. We've got some very interesting questions coming in. So please keep them coming because I think we're going to have some good time to talk. Thanks, Coffee. Next speaker is Nick Stockbridge, Director of Transmedia Communications, and we've asked Nick to answer the following question. So to observe a rapid economic recovery, what role would the higher education sector play in developed and developing countries? And what the local business in the UK can assist the education institutes? So over to you, Nick.
Right, thank you very much. Yes, hello everybody, it's very nice to be here. Just a very brief introduction to me and my company. Like Lena, we are a software development company, and I'll say very, very briefly that I know she's absolutely right that ideally we would have an office in Nairobi or Sierra Leone or Nigeria or somewhere. We don't yet have that. So I am doing the thing that she would be not to do, it to yourself in London and do your best from there. So I hope that will change, but in the early stages, that this is how it goes. I do hope it'll change. Yeah, our introduction was about 5 years ago when we won a contract with the UN to build some software for it was simply the Kenyan prison service and all the state force. But I'm interested in so many of these big important areas: health, education. I'm currently concentrating on education, which is why I'm trying to answer this question now. So, ways that colleges and universities could help contribute to the post-pandemic recovery. So, for example, I think put their services online and expand their capacity to meet students' needs. So that could be mental health needs, food needs, housing and technology needs. Major problem caused by the pandemic is obviously unemployment. So universities are a place of learning. So these can help with reskilling displaced working adults, those who need retraining. It would be completely feasible for universities to look at how the current world of work is changing, look at the skills gaps that are emerging, the new areas of job demand, and help to build some policy on filling those gaps, identify training requirements to help fill those gaps. On campuses themselves, universities could run information programs. So, for example, public radio and television stations. They could liaise closely with schools. So, for example, state schools who have not well funded, unlike private, university students could perhaps supervise science programs. They help the community more widely. So, for example, this could be just lectures, reading groups, book talks, general performances, jobs and skills workshops, exercise classes. The business school element. So, departments who are specifically geared within universities to supporting business and to have business graduates. They're being small. They could help design business plans and carry out marketing, social media outreach. They could help schools with venue provision. So schools will have less room. Universities are bigger organizations. They'll have more room, one would expect. So they could perhaps particularly help with socially distanced classes. They could help with non-academic facilities. So, for example, they've got bigger spaces, facilities, rooms. They could have spaces that serve as testing centres, distribution centres, perhaps vaccination centres. So these are all key areas that they could help. Or help sort of within business and social problem solving generally. So, for example, legal services. So universities with law departments could help in areas such as bankruptcy, civil rights. I mean, these sound negative areas, but you need help when you have these kind of problems. Criminal and social justice programs, domestic violence programs, which we know has increased in pandemic times when people are more or less stuck at home. Other problems like eviction, medical benefits, unemployment and insurance claims. There's all sorts of problems that the legal services departments of universities could help with. And, we shouldn't forget that generally speaking, what is the prime skill of university staff? It's research. Most universities pride themselves and are funded according to their research capabilities. So they can help research in epidemiology, immunology, virology, community health, all of these things that are very specifically connected to the COVID problem. So I'll try and also answer the second question a little bit, which is what can UK businesses do? I mean, still we could start with teaching as a business. So the expansion of British education businesses in its broad sense. So this is already happening, of course. So schools and universities could open up other campuses abroad. They could award joint and dual degrees between British universities and other African universities. There could be franchising of schools. There could be validation of degrees. There could be corporate involvement. We are quite good at involving corporates, building relationships between private sector organizations and universities here. So we could try and help expand that skill abroad in Africa. Could certainly help with recruitment as well. There's English language courses, other pathways, generally studying abroad, international volunteering, all of these things, education businesses. Moving to other sectors, I think ICT is obviously online learning, learning through devices. We all know that these things are going to be increasingly important. So e-readers are a common existing tool. So you've got non-profits such as World Reader, who have provided school children in developing countries with access to digital books through Kindle e-readers, this sort of thing. The World Reader app has a library of stories, and it's already on, I think, 3.9 million handsets. And it's got active readers in countries such as Nigeria, Ethiopia, and Ghana. There is one issue, which is that the majority of EdTech innovation is premised on having a reliable internet connection. And of course, we know that that is not the case now, will not be still for quite some time to come. It's very, very variable. Some countries are good, some countries are still very limited. So we do have to acknowledge, I think, that one area where the African continent as a whole is much better is their adoption of SMS and instant messaging in a way that it's kind of leapfrogged over other technologies that, you know, like home computers and laptops and so on. So SMS, learning via SMS is already a really key area. I'm sure that's going to expand. So there are also longer form reading materials, and I learned this doing a little bit of research to try and answer this question. So we're used to SMS being, you know, short, kind of 160 character text bytes, but there are projects such as the User's Cell Phone Stories project, which offers downloads of much longer stories and novels. That's, I believe, has had quite a good uptake amongst young American readers. I think the whole thing of you know, SMS learning and other forms of learning is fitting well with the belief that we'll find at UNESCO that there's, generally speaking, going to be a shift away from teaching in a classroom only space, and we've learned this so much from COVID, where schools and universities are forced to. I'm really certain that it's going to lead to an increased focus on learning at home, informal learning, and this is something that I'm discussing a lot with Mono. We hope to do a lot more work. And a core feature of mobiles, of course, is that they support anywhere, anytime learning, because they're with students or with people all the time. They're perfectly suited to support informal and contextual learning.
Nick, would you mind wrapping up?
Okay, sure. That is more or less it. Let me mention just one more thing, if I can, very quickly. So lighting, I think one thing really easy to forget is that learning still happens a lot at home, and you need electricity, or rather you need lighting to be able to do that. And we kind of assume that it's not, you know, it can be less than 20% in some countries like Kenya and Tanzania. So charities and for-profit organizations which are providing solar lighting are growing, and these things are doing really well. And I think that's going to be an important area. Right, sorry if I've overrun. I'll wrap up there. Very much.
Thank you so much, Nick. Okay, so moving on, I'd like to introduce Jeremy Alimizari. So the question we've asked Jeremy is how the collaboration among Chamber of Commerce of two countries are creating opportunities for economic growth. So over to you, Jeremy, please.
Okay. My name is Alimizari, Jeremy Alimizari. A very quick background. I'm the chief executive of a global media company based in the city of London called Square Rock Group. My business partner, Mark Silver, and myself created about 11 years ago. We work with estates of Muhammad Ali, Elvis Presley, Marilyn Monroe, Grace Kelly. Pretty fun. We also have partnership with brands like the National Geographic magazine, and represent artists, not artists in the terms of singers, but artists in terms of sculptures. Also, we have created about a year ago a business which is a bridge between the DRC, the Democratic Republic of the Congo, and the UK, called Wealth Partners. And in that capacity, I've helped to create the Congolese Chamber of Commerce in Great Britain. And I'm the advisor of the chair of the Chamber of Commerce. So to come to your question, the Chamber of Commerce, but also to link it with DRC, because Joe has spoken about Sierra Leone, Kofi has spoken about Ghana, but I think if there is a place to go in Africa, is the DRC. To come about the Chamber of Commerce, whatever Chamber of Commerce you're looking about has to be an epicenter, a space which offer knowledge, which offer innovation, which offer information, which offer opportunities. And by that, you need to be able, through that Chamber of Commerce, to access information about consumer habits, information about trade, information about legislations, information about planning. And very simply, that Chamber of Commerce need to provide you as well with a social capital, because it has to be a place of networking. It has to be a place where you can meet your peer, and it has to be a place where you can understand the strategy of what you're going on. And if we start talking now about an international Chamber of Commerce, then that chamber need to provide you with trade information about import and export, with local legislation, local habits, but also intelligence about how the culture of the people work. And again, and then we're going to shift a little bit on the DRC. We know this phenomenon which is called Brexit, where the UK has to find new partners outside of the European Union, and the UK obviously know very well the Commonwealth market for a lot of reasons, languages, etc. But when you start to look now at the DRC, it's a French-speaking place, it's a place where people don't have information, and is a new place to look at. Nick, for example, at the start, we're talking about Africa. I think we need perhaps not to talk anymore about Africa, but to talk about the Africas, which is something a little bit different, because when you look at the North Africa, Morocco, Algeria, Tunisia, Egypt, Libya, it has nothing to do with the sub-Saharan Africa, but it's still the same continent. When we're looking at East Africa, the Gold Coast, Ghana, Senegal, Ivory Coast, it has absolutely nothing to do with the other coast, when you find Somalia, Eritrea, Ethiopia. When you come to Central Africa now, you find the DRC, Central Africa, Zambia, nothing to do as well. So when people talk about Africa, they tend to talk like a place, it's a country. No, it's not. It has diversities, and we're talking about diversity in terms of space, but we're also talking about diversity in terms of religion, diversity in terms of languages, diversity in terms of trade, diversity in terms of legislation. And I think whatsoever business wanted to go to, let's keep calling it the Africa, needs to start to ask itself first, what added value am I going to bring there? Why am I going there? About 2 weeks ago, I was invited by a business to speak with the executive. And the question I was asking them is, if you move your business from the UK to this place, what added value are you going to bring? What agent of change are you going to be? What social enterprises are you going to import? So it's a question to ask. Also, if I take what Joe was saying before about inviting or Brunel undergraduate and all the people, the DRC does not have the problem anymore to invite foreigner to the DRC. The DRC has a problem to get his diaspora back, his highly educated diaspora back, because we have people from Oxford, for Cambridge, for Harvard, but so far there haven't been a corporate governance, there haven't been a state of law, there haven't been a technology support to tempt those people to go back home and to start to trade. Also, if we talk about the DRC need to stop exporting their raw material, because they're exporting the value of the country that created jobs elsewhere. The country need to start to build manufacturing industry. So we are just in a situation now where it's the greatest place of opportunity to talk about size, because again, Nick was giving to the people the size of the United States, which can fit to the continent. If you take the Democratic Republic of Congo, in that country, you can fit France, you can fit Germany, you can fit Spain, and you're still going to have some place. And we're just talking about a place where there's 85 millions of people. If you look at the second largest forest in the world after the Amazon, again, it's in the DRC. Africa, it's 54 countries. Half of fresh water for the whole African continent is in the DRC via the Congo River. This is just to say for people who are looking to develop small and medium UK enterprise, who are looking to develop tourism, who are looking to develop energy technologies, who are looking to develop services, recruitment. They have a country where more than 50% of the 85 million are less than 25, huge consumer market. DRC got 9 countries to board them, so huge place of export. So when we're talking about international, we're talking about trade, we're talking about an alternative for the UK to Brexit, to the Commonwealth. The DRC is the place to go. 7 minutes, that's okay.
Perfect, and what a great ending. Thank you, Jeremy. Last but very definitely not least, our last speaker, can I introduce Saleh Manikam, who's the promoter and managing director of the Arima Group, Ghana. I'm sure you can correct me. Over to you, Saleh.
Greetings to everyone. I'm from Ghana. I represent Arima Farms Ghana Limited. We are into a socio-economic development in agriculture. We have a vast land of 16,000 acres in northern Ghana. And we are into developing a consortium where each of the consortium teams focus on their own specialities. We have a team which is working with the community to develop their abilities through NGO work. We work with the university also. We absorb students who have completed agriculture and put them through internship in our farm. And we are planning on an in-grower scheme where every agripreneur, we call them, is allotted 50 acres of land where we give the training, the inputs, and we buy back from them. This, we also work with the local NGOs to understand the communities. And during this process, we have been on this for almost past 6 years, from the process of identifying the land, getting it legally in our name and all that. We have understood that the NGOs, the corporate and the government sector, all three should go hand in glove to make it a success. And we have seen the trade from the micro level. We are also working on a women-centric farm process, which should be 5 acres per for a woman. We are working with another NGO, though we are a corporate entity. We work with other NGOs also to increase the trade base and bring the women into downstream of the agro industry. Because we have seen women are mostly into the trading part, not into the farming part. So we are trying to do a cluster with women farmers alone. So this is our background. So still I was not asked the question. So should I go ahead?
And let me ask you it now, thank you. So the question is how the NGO and voluntary organizations are able to influence international trade policies.
Okay, so NGOs, as we generally see, is more humanitarian centered. And I think today the trade and the humanitarian base, trade economics, everything go hand in glove. And one is to understand what the trade is required. The other one is once the policies are made, to execute them at the community level. NGOs play a great role. We have practically seen it in our own project. We formed an NGO the same day we incorporated our company, and we have seen that it has moved very well in the process. And we have the government officials also supporting us in their own ways. And I think it's NGOs greatly impact the domestic trade and the international trade. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much indeed. So that brings us to the end of our panelists. So now, Monamisa, can I hand over to you to take questions from the chat room and the Q&A?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Simon, for efficiently controlling the time, maintaining the time, everything. Thank you. So there are a couple of good questions from the participants. The first question is from Nana, who is asking, how are the telecommunication institutions supporting financial inclusion in Sierra Leone? I think to Joe, this question is for Joe.
Yes. Actually, I spent a bit of time typing it out, but basically, it's a very, very big deal here. I myself am totally reliant on mobile money. The way the banks work here, they're pretty bad. I hope there are no bankers on here, but they have limited closing hours. Guys are sluggish when they're responding to you. The ATMs don't work half the time. So to be honest, the most secure way of handling money is you go to the bank with a check, get a whole bunch of cash out, and then you load it onto your mobile money, and then you can actually wander around and do anything you want with it. Also, there's quite a lot of peer-to-peer finance, social welfare, let me put it that way. So again, rather than having people, chasing people around town doing handouts, it's just easier to do it by mobile money. What the banks are doing, they're also integrating with the mobile money operators. So the banks have established their own online accounts and mobile money accounts, but they also facilitate actually transferring direct from your accounts to the mobile money accounts. Furthermore, the payment services, a whole endless array of payment services for electricity bills, water bills, rates, taxes to some extent. So for us, mobile money isn't really exceptional. It is our financial inclusion. It just works better than the banks. I think the thing that you would use the banks for is special services and also trying to get interest on your money, but nobody here has enough money to earn interest. So what I would say is that financial inclusion is almost entirely being driven by mobile money, and it's just a part of life now.
Thank you. Thank you, Joe. And a question from Diana, and the question is, what are the main challenges of the farming industry?
I can talk a little bit about farming in Ghana. We set up a greenhouse just north of Accra. Joe, you mentioned you're also in the tomato business. I'd like to hear a bit about that as well. So we set up a tomato greenhouse. It's about 4 times the size of an Olympic swimming pool. There's a huge demand for tomato-based products in Ghana. I think between Ghana and Nigeria, per capita, we're probably the largest importers of tomato products. And a lot of that imported tomato-based product is coming in from China, from Brazil. But there are huge challenges with production. One, a tomato is not a tropical fruit. It grows best in the temperate zones. So you see areas where it's hot and dry. They're successful. If you're going to have a controlled agricultural approach, like a greenhouse, those work best in places like Israel, where it's hot and dry and you can use evaporative cooling techniques. In Ghana, where the humidity levels are often at 90%, it's difficult to use evaporative cooling to bring down the temperature. So we've placed our greenhouse in Ibri, which is a mountainous area, or at least hilly. That helps us at least achieve those night temperatures. But the biggest issue is around agricultural finance, raising capital in Ghana, and this goes through the entire industrial value chain and also for real estate. It's the cost of capital and doing business in sub-Saharan Africa is quite high. So if you're borrowing from commercial banks at 12%, and you're doing a real estate project, you're doing a farm, and you're competing globally with folks that have access to capital and could borrow at 2%, it puts you at a significant disadvantage. So I would identify agricultural finance as a key challenge. I would say that there's also a technical issue that when you're trying to introduce an innovation like greenhouse farming, that you find that there aren't the seeds widely being, if you're in a place like California, they're producing different types at top universities, they're producing different types of strawberries every season, right, to solve the issues of last season. In a place like Ghana, you can invest in a lovely greenhouse, but who is selling you your seeds, right? And folks are just winging it. You'll find a seed distributor who is, and they've got some Dutch backing, or they've done something in Kenya. They don't know whether your yields are going to work in your environment. You plant in the ground, so you're the guinea pig. Meanwhile, you've got workers to pay, and you have to sort out all of your other farming input. So their challenge is, if you're trying to do something that's non-traditional, even though there might be a great market. Now for us, a fresh tomato is a finished product. So we've got a moat around that business. There are folks that are importing tomatoes in from Burkina Faso, but they're doing so and they're not in a cold chain. To bring it in from Europe is difficult and expensive. So that helps protect the Ghanaian business. So again, what I was saying before about looking at the opportunities, you've got to be here, see which are the barriers to entry that benefit you. And nobody can tell you what, I was at a forum in London a couple of months ago, and they're asking some questions. When should you start as an entrepreneur? What should you do? An entrepreneur is somebody who sees an opportunity and gets slapped in the face with it and says, I can make money doing this better than everybody else. Right? So that's not something somebody else can tell you. You have the right networks, you have the right experience, you've got the pluck and initiative to do something different. And oftentimes innovation isn't really about creating something, sitting in a room and having an epiphany. It's about seeing something in the Congo working and saying this would, make a killing in Freetown, and being the first person to bring it there and tweaking it so that it fits the local context.
Yeah, thank you, Kofi. And can you kindly let us know the name of your company?
Sure, we've got a few. If you're interested in seeing the last project we just wrapped up, it's about a $30 million development called Alimizari Park. We partnered with a US firm called Black Ivy. So I'll put the website address and also some YouTube links.
If you could kindly put that in the chat, that would be great. People are asking for that. Yeah, thank you. And Lena, there is a question for you. Lena mentioned that one of the main challenges pre-COVID is finding and building local networks. This is a question for the panelists. What are your thoughts on diaspora network support to help foreign SMEs operations in Africa? Are you able to provide some example of this?
So I can probably provide some insight as a UK company setting out without any network. It's all about talking to people. It's all about meeting people. It's all about connecting with people. I think Nick put Afford in the chat. Afford is, if you're here in the UK and you want a starting point, Afford is a great place to start. They reach out across, I think it's West Africa, they're in Sierra Leone, they're in Ghana, and they're a good starting point. But it's really about talking. I know Kofi's network is across 3 or 4 continents, as is Joe's. That's how I met Joe and Kofi. But there are people in Ghana, for example. I know there's a gentleman called Richard Tando, who does Star 100, which is a professional network for Ghanaians and Africans in the diaspora. And then there's Denta Amoateng, who runs Cuba, which again supports the diaspora, primarily Ghanaians, but the African diaspora. So please, if you want, and there's Amma Jampo, who runs Scale Up Africa, and they facilitate diaspora events across the globe. So if you want, whoever asks a question, please reach out to me. I'm happy to put you in touch with some people who could help you. The resources are out there. You just have to get out there, connect, talk, and join the dots. Good luck.
Thank you very much, Lena, and thank you Nick and other colleagues here, Jeremy, people were saying that now onwards we will say the continent, and like it's a combination of 54 countries. So we came to know about that. It is an excellent presentation, and all of you were really, really good. And I would now, I'm conscious of time, and I can see lots of conversation going on here. And I think in future we can create this type of opportunity, this type of forum where we can share our thoughts, and we can share our knowledge about African market, not only African market. Even if you are sitting here and doing the business there, you need to know about the market. And as Nick was saying, that we are working together to understand how to expand the education, do something good for the education sector in Africa, in different countries. So we are trying to expand, and we will definitely come back to Jeremy and Kofi and Joe, everyone there, so that we can see some opportunities there. We can expand our knowledge, and we can help each other to grow together. So I would now like to introduce my colleague who is waiting here for a long time. Thank you, Liz. And she is our director. Give me 1 second. She is the Chief Business and Innovation Officer. So I don't want to spell out her designation in a wrong way. So, and I would leave it to Liz now.
Hey, thank you, Mono. And yeah, yes, I do have the silliest job title at Brunel. Yeah. I need an extra long business card to fit it on. Well, I've been asked to just make a few closing remarks and to sum up what we've heard. So first of all, thank you to everyone for joining us. We've had well over 100 people on the webinar today, which is fantastic. And I've certainly found it fascinating. I've really enjoyed listening to what everyone's had to say, and some great questions coming in. It's quite hard to summarise. There's been so many interesting and useful contributions, but let me give it a go for a couple of minutes. So for me, there were two sort of main themes. One was that there were a number of sort of broad statements about the importance of collaboration across borders and across different types of organisation. So Trevor kicked us off talking about how, you know, this university, as with many others, wants to collaborate with businesses internationally, wants to collaborate with other research institutions, wants to create opportunities for people to move across borders and to work in partnership. So there's two-way value. Nick then picked up talking about why innovation is so important in its broadest sense, and how that applies to your thinking as a business person, and how you grow into new markets through incremental change or through step changes. I think a similar theme came out from what I heard the second Nick Stockbridge say, talking a lot about online learning, ICT, and a shift across the world to teaching and learning beyond the classroom and to informal learning. And I think that picked up some of the comments that were made previously about lifelong learning and upskilling people as well, in terms of the roles that universities can play. The second big theme I heard was about how to go about doing business in different countries in Africa. And I use the phrase carefully because I think the point Kofi made is absolutely right. Was it Kofi who said this? No, it was Jeremy, I think, actually, that it's not helpful to just think about Africa as a whole, that the different parts of the continent have different features in common, but not all countries have those same things in common across the entire continent. So North Africa versus Sub-Saharan, differences between the two coasts. I thought that was a point really well made. And I think the point that Jeremy made around, you need to ask yourself what value you're bringing and what agents of change you're going to be. I think that's a really important one. You know, if people from Europe or from the United States want to do business in Africa, it's about what are you bringing? What difference are you making? And I think to understand that, one of the messages that I heard really clearly from a couple of people, actually, particularly from Lena, was that you can't do this remotely. That sitting here in London and expecting to understand how Ghana works or how the DRC works and what the opportunities and challenges are simply doesn't work. I also heard from a number of you about the need for trust, business relationships and networks. I think that's true within the UK, and I think it's true all over the world. And I certainly think it would be arrogant for anybody to assume that you can just steam in to a new market, wherever that may be in the world, without having built the trust and the relationships to get a proper understanding of the market that you're trying to work in. I thought there were some very interesting comments as well about the role of some of the government bodies. So Joe was talking about how trade relations, investment and industrial activity need to be considered together, the need to roll out infrastructure, to look at lowering the cost of entry to business, at the same time as looking at skills and education and starting to kickstart that value-added manufacturing economy. And I heard that echoed with a number of other people's comments as well. So, for example, the work that Saleh was describing about bringing together NGOs and trade to create I suppose, a critical mass in terms of the agricultural land that she was talking about, and then making it doable at a community level. So, as I say, I think a couple of big themes for me. One was that overarching piece about the role that education, government, trade and international collaboration have all together. And a second theme around some really, really good guidance and tips on how to start thinking about working with countries in Africa.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Alice, and thank you to everyone. And I can see still some interesting discussion going on. And our speakers kindly share their email address. So if you want to network with them, if you want to establish a good network about any opportunities in Africa, that is the main purpose of this type of webinar. So though we cannot meet face to face, but at least we can create these opportunities among us. So thank you everyone for your time, for your engagement and your participation, and keep an eye. Hope to see you in next year and in any other interesting events, and we might do more events around Africa. So please make sure that you are looking into our website about what type of events we are organizing, and hopefully together we can bring a big change in this whole world. Thank you very much, all of you. Thank you.